Hi everyone. So this is the last week of the year 2021. We'll go through our list as usual, and also I'll spare some time for any question you might have on any other coin, right? So we'll do that as well. So starting with Bitcoin as usual, maybe I'll spend a minute or two to see what it is doing, because in my opinion this is a critical level, simply because this is where this is the most critical bounce. This is the most critical bounce. I mean, this particular bounce, because this is the level where it could have gone down. Maybe in this time frame it's not so clear, so I'll zoom out a bit and then go to the lower level. Okay, 12 hour makes sense for now. If you look at it, so this is where it could have failed miserably and gone down, but it survived. So these two particular bounces were really good, were lifesaver. And not only that, this particular bounce was able to remain above 47900. To me, 47900 played an important role. There were a couple of rejections here, and then it retested this level if you look at it, and then this was the great bounce. And then so this first bounce, and then this is second bounce, indicated that long, or the bulls, or whatever, like uptrend has no risk at this moment, no immediate risk. I mean, conservatively I would like it to see above 5200, but we can say at least it's not that tomorrow you wake up and it is below 40k. So that's not the situation today. I think this is very important after this particular level. So I think this was the most important level, as I said. Then the second most was this one, because it had to provide this support. Otherwise, again, this would have broken otherwise, right? So this was the most important, second most important level in the bounce. Now this is the last push, I would say, needed for it to somewhere here, right, near 58k. That's something we want. Essentially, it has to break about this point of rejection where it collapsed. This is where we would like Bitcoin to be. Okay, just to then it will fly high. Okay, that's the expectation. Anything in this region 52k plus will give you comfort, and in that case alts will flourish. This is the phase where we are just coming out of the mess, the downside risk, and we are very close. It's very close to the escape point, right? Okay, so this particular pattern is not so visible on this time frame, maybe. So on lower time frame I have to show you. This is a continuation pattern, this kind of expanding pattern, right? Sometimes it creates a flag pattern, sometimes it's like a symmetrical triangle. This is expanding pattern, but it's usually a anyway. There are other things as well. This is one of the things. Now if you look at, this is similar kind of a pattern, but this is near S3. This is resistance. This white line 50950 is S4, my bad, S4. And what we see here is consolidation around S4 in last 4 hours. Not 4 hours, actually last 24 hours, it was really trying to break above this level 50950, but so far not able to do so. However, the good news is it is the whenever it is rejected, it is not pushed back deep enough. The pushback is still above this low. That's why I have this purple color support line 50370. So as long as this consolidation remains above this purple line, I don't think there is any downside risk. And it is very simple. If this is collapsed, then it is possible that it erases everything that you see here and comes back to this one, and then a bounce, and then you see a head at shoulder, and this is head. It will complete the head, let's say, and then come another bounce, and potentially it could go down in that case. So because this is if purple is broken, right, then it could form head and shoulder. So that's why it is very important that you track this purple line. So that's what the message I left when I logged off last night, that you would track. And I think when I woke up, it is still here, so this is still valid. And just now I added this green level 51165 because this point of rejection is another local resistance, very micro level, right? So in short, if it breaks above green level, then it will go for S3, very simple, right? And there could be some reaction at S3, and then it will try to break above and continue on the upside. This is what the scenario, upside scenario. And the downside scenario, as I said, is if this is broken below, the head could complete and this head and shoulder could play a role. So this is still on the table, right? So now it's so simple because it's like $300-400 here and there, because this particular price level is right in the middle of the green level and the purple level. So it all depends on whether it breaks this one or this one, right? It all depends on so the direction. So this level will determine the direction. So this is very simple as far as planning is concerned or understanding is concerned. So this is very these are very useful levels. Now what you see here from the alts, you see all this, they are pumped up, and I mentioned that the domination of Bitcoin is also reducing. It's under pressure, I would say. And also people are putting more money in other coins than BTC. Clearly it is observed, and reasons could be many, but I do see the change in trend, not just this now or recently, but in last 2-3 months, that alts are not something which are kind of a Batman and Robin kind of a situation, right? So the Robin is rising. Okay, that's what I would say. The Robin is rising. And yeah, this is clearly evident here. Now one thing doesn't change, that if BTC breaks below this, in case, then whatever green that you see, they'll turn into red. So I have no doubt about that behavior. Only thing is, if the tolerance of alts has gone up, means they are not as sensitive as they used to be. If Bitcoin is corrects by 0.5% or 1%, some of the alts do not care at all. They were ultra sensitive to Bitcoin movement. 1% used to be big deal, but some of the alts do not care even. So earlier at least they used to stop, but some of the alts we saw, they keep moving up. Even Bitcoin is down by 0.5% or 1%. So this is totally different landscape, I would say, and that's changing. and that's the change happening. The change doesn't happen overnight, a major change, but there is a slow progress, slow I mean this kind of I would say decoupling is evident here. And this decoupling is not overnight process, it takes weeks, months, or maybe some year. But definitely there is clear sign I see that this could ultimately behave like stocks, because in stocks not everything goes down unless there is a financial crisis. So it is likely to if I mean we could see something similar as a trend where not everything goes down when Bitcoin goes down, right? And for that to happen, Bitcoin dominance has to go down. Right now Bitcoin dominance is still very high, so it still controls the market. But if the Bitcoin dominance goes down, we can have a quick look at Bitcoin dominance here. I was looking at it, and if let's say it is at the support level, you see, on this is weekly time frame. So this was May this year, and this was August, and now the present. Now it is possible that it bounces, it could bounce from here, but definitely you can see the pressure is high on the downside. We'll see. The present is telling me that the Bitcoin dominance is likely to go down, right? It could bounce from here because the support line is not broken. This is a band, so it's not a clear breakdown right now. But as you could see, this is definitely a bearish chart. Dominance chart is a bearish chart, so that means the probability wise the downside move is very high, right? So that means the dominance is likely to fall, and it could be a slow progression. As I said, this is consolidation and then a breakdown. It is possible, but this is also support, it could bounce. So we'll have to give some more time, but at this moment I would say BTC dominance, the likelihood of BTC dominance is at risk. uh, and this is the next big level. There could be some interim level, but this is the next big level. The point of the decoupling that I was talking about will happen more visible when BTC is 30, and if BTC goes to 20-25%, then definitely it will happen. Some of the coins will act very independently in that case, right? People have different opinions about what should happen. Some people think that Bitcoin dominance need to be 40% or higher, for there has to be some control. Otherwise they think that money can be wasted in something which is of no use and all. And I don't believe in that theory. I believe that let people decide, let market decide what they think is right. I don't think they could be wrong, the expert could be right. And I do believe that some coins are, I mean so many coins are just fake coins, and I mean they are taking advantage, and there's no known figure or nothing like copy paste kind of a coin, and we don't know basically. I don't have any proof to state that, but point is, it when I see 7,000 plus coin, I think it's too much. It doesn't make any sense that there are so many coins. So in future definitely the coins, so many coins will drop out, and it happened in past, nothing new. And I see very different future where number of coins could reduce, uh, and consolidate. Some of the players which are doing good will dominate in each sector. Even in the real world, this is still a speculative world. I don't consider this is a real world, because the product is not being used by anyone, right? The coins are not being used. So if it is used, then good. but 99% of the coins are not being used. So that's why it's still, this is a speculative world. So in the real world, if you look at it, there are always 3 4 big players globally, and even regionally you will say it's the same thing. Some of the products cannot go global, but on a global, you take any category or business sector, right? If you take whether oil, commodity sector, oil sector, right, or take car manufacturer, you take TV manufacturer, you take computer softwares, computer, so they are phone manufacturers. Take any product, there are 4 5 players, not many, right? Even locally you would find the same thing. So this kind of pattern is everywhere, and it's all the time. It's eight, sometimes 80/20 rule. You must have heard about it, right? So usually that happens. I think that would happen in crypto eventually. um, I don't think so many coins will flourish, but anyways, that's slightly a different topic. As far as dominance is concerned, some of the platforms, contract platform, will emerge as independent platform, and they will flourish independently as far as price action is concerned, in my opinion. Okay. We'll see. See, if you look at Ethereum and BTC, if you look at the market cap of Ethereum and BTC, you will realize that the gap has narrowed down, and it is narrowing down each every month, right, on an average basis. So definitely, Ethereum is still number 2 for years, but if you look at the market cap between the difference between the market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum, it is narrowing down, right? So that's the point. So definitely it is reflected here, and I think few other platforms will also go in that direction in terms of value gain, and that will bring down the dominance of Bitcoin in future. That's my take. We'll see. Okay, let's come back to Bitcoin analysis. Now, weekly point of view, this is great news. We are looking at more lower level. Now, the week, today is Saturday, tomorrow week ends. The week, this week has broken above the last week's high. This candle is very similar to this candle in my point of view, right? Where there is a, I'm not such, but even sequence wise they are similar. Red, green, red, and a green. The red, green, red, and a green. It's just a coincidence. I'm not trying to say it's the pattern is same, but it's interesting that the big drop and then a candle within that candle, I mean this candle within the previous candle, and then a new low. Here there's a difference. This didn't make a new low, okay, but if you look at the high, the closing was above this low, this closing was above this low, see it happens. So focus on the closing part, okay, don't focus too much on the low part. It is important, but where it closes, that matters more than what it level it touches during the week or during the day. It depends what time frame. Like right now we are looking at weekly, and I suggested you to always look for weekly. If you remember last week's call, I suggested not to look for anything below. I mean, just to get what it is, what happening, that's all right. When I say not to look, means not to decide anything major based on intra, other than, I mean, lower than weekly, just because you don't want to flip flop in terms of positions, right? Because things were very dynamic or changing, so you don't want to do in and out, correct? You want, whatever direction you take, you would like to stay for many days, right? Because it doesn't make sense to do in and out every other day. So sometime you do nothing, be patient, and then jump in, or maybe jump in but very without much of a risk. So and that kind of clarity you get only when you look at the weekly. Now when you see this weekly, definitely this is absolutely awesome move, simply because this high has broken above previous week's high and it is staying there. Now what it means that if this week ends before above this, then the next week is likely to be very positive, because this particular week has given enough push for this, to avoid the downside move, correct? So that's the reason why this is the lifesaver. This candle is a lifesaver, or this week is a lifesaver for long positions holder. Now, and so still week hasn't closed, but and that's why if you look at what was the closing, 46810, right, which is very similar to my 547900 level, the orange level that I have, very close, right? So essentially you don't want, this is from a candle analysis point of view. As you could imagine, there are different ways to analyze the same chart, right? And ultimately TA has to say this is what it is, right? So what I'm saying is purely based on candle analysis. Okay, so from this candle analysis point of view, you would not like to close under or within this previous week's body, which starts at its closing, which is 46681. Okay, so this must not close in that range below this 46681 level, right? Because that's not a good sign. I would not say it's a sign of crash and all, but that's not positive. That's what I would say. Okay, the bad thing would be if it breaks below the previous, then you can say then the likelihood of crashing below is very high. So sometime it gives you heads up, like a sign, right? So when it bounced from here, it gave you the sign that it wants to go up, not down. And when if it closes above this, ideally this candle which is 52k run, then I would say if it breaks above or closes above this whenever, then we can say we are not thinking about any downside move, and right, and it will go up, and 58k will give the final stamp that okay, bye bye 40k, I want to go up, that kind of a signal. So this is very simple as far as conditions are concerned for upside move, and conditions are concerned for the downside move, right? You feel free to ask me any question once I'm done with this, and then we'll move into the other alts, other coins. But this is very important, I would say, chart, right? This is very important because this is going to drive everything from a longer term point of view, swing trading point of view, right? I'm not talking about 1 day, 2 day, 3 day kind of a price movement. I'm talking about the direction, right? Because if we are right in the direction, we can do well. For example, when I saw weakness here, right, I won't go too much in past about what we have done, but at least this, that when it was here, we had raised signal, risk signal, watch out signal somewhere, multiple watch out signal here, and basically started saying that the downside pressure is high, and then there were multiple supports, right? So many supports, and it happened, and this was a good bounce. So on December 3rd, I said this is a really good bounce because the height is really good, and we have to see the retest level and all, and now we are seeing that, right? So this consolidation, and that point in time I said, because this has happened, forget about a few weeks, because it takes time to heal. This kind of damage is not repaired in matter of few days. It takes time, longer time, unfortunate, because this is kind of a backtracking, right? And nobody likes this because it was at a nice position, so nobody likes that, but that's how it is. So when it bounced, I said forget about December. That's what I said, and this is what is happening now. We are end of the December, and it is trying to now climb up and recover, right? So that's at least good thing. But anyway, so there were not many opportunities because of this ugly fall. Okay, and what else? So point I was making is, um, so this was a good sign of the bounce, and then it didn't go here and stayed here, and consolidating is a good sign. And the level that I mentioned will help you further planning. So the thing is, we are you must have noted that on this platform we are not like bulls and bears. We don't talk like that. When I saw weakness here, where most of the people were thinking about 100k, and probably even, to be honest, it's not easy for someone to be in a minority. When everybody says that this is what going to happen, this is alt season, and so many tweets about from big TAs, and it's not easy to stay to your core, stand. I mean, keep up your stand and say no, I don't think 100k is happening. When you see this kind of a weakness, the 100k is not happening, saying this over here was challenging. And we are not someone who thinks about extreme cases, that this is end of bull run and all, okay, or uptrend. Sometimes people misinterpret many things, and they try to take extreme sides. When they see this one, they think the bull is, I mean, the trend is over. No, there is, it's not easy, it's not that easy, because this level didn't end the bull run. How come this drop will end the bull run? However, there can be damage. This risk management has nothing to do with whether the bull run is over or not. The point is, when we see that the market could correct by some percentage, it's an opportunity, in my opinion, to trade accordingly. Not necessarily everybody should follow, because different people have different guide, stand. That's why I had posted 4 different strategies. So depends on what you choose, you can have it. I mean, you can choose one of them based on your expectation, right? But at least as far as the direction is concerned, we were not wrong. And so that's something we achieved recently. Now we are here, and we have very clear conditions that 47900 is important for this to continue on the upside. It must remain 47900, right? So very clear guideline here, right? So our approach is very condition based. So we don't have very fixed mindset, say this will happen, that will happen. We'll say, if this will happen, if this level is broken, then this could happen, and so on. It is so simple, and that's more realistic. When someone says this is going to be 100k by this date and all that, I mean, that's doable, but we try to be more realistic here. Anyways, so I think you got it. The key levels, right? So that part is covered. Now we can have a quick look at different couple of patterns that we had, and we were tracking those. So same chart but different point of view, right? So this is Bitstamp on weekly. Now Bitstamp on weekly, the important thing, this is rectangular pattern, orange. So this is upper bound, lower bound. Nothing has changed as far as drawings are concerned, right? Nothing has changed. and it is trying to break above this line, very important line, because this is where the probability changed. Remember, when it was here, the probability of going up was 70% and down was 30%. When it was here, I said it's more like 50-50%, right? And then it went down, then we changed it to 70 down and 30 up. Now I would say, because it is near this level, we can say this is 50-50 again. Okay, if it break above the green level, break above the green level, yeah, then we can change it to 70-30 again. So same thing, right? So this is important, very important chart, and very easy to understand chart. And just a reminder that the right shoulder hasn't finished yet, and that's why this level is important. If you look at, maybe you see this level, maybe I should keep this level. Sometimes it's not horizontal line, but I'll just keep it like that. Sometimes this is at angle, maybe I should bump up a bit. This pattern, now I'm explaining different thing from a different pattern point of view, but not to confuse, because sometimes I don't want to throw a lot of patterns. Keep the price level from the from the coin, from the Binance chart that I mentioned. Those are important levels. So this is purely from a TA point of view, but the direction is same. Price level is little different, so ignore the price level part here, because this pattern I'm trying to explain different way, from a different point of view. So here the exact dollar number is not important, but the shape of the pattern is important. Okay, so just a quick clarification here. Because 52k was on Binance and here is 53,500, so you should not get confused why I have this higher. It is higher from this pattern point of view. So what you see here is the left hand side, and then this is a head, and this could be a right shoulder. Okay, like this. Because I'm TA, I had to cover different perspectives, right? And then invalidate or validate based on. So this could play out, and I cannot ignore this scenario. This is still on the table. So if you look at this pattern, this is not so symmetric, but just to give you an idea, this was not very symmetric, I mean deformed kind of, but it will give you some idea that we had similar kind of a structure. This is left hand side show. So here it's not so visible. On a daily it is more visible. In this case, for this particular part, you see the left hand side, then a head, and then a right hand side, right? You ignore this bridging part. Okay, ignore this bridging part, just focus on this area. This is the one that I'm circulating, which is mirror image of this one. Okay, approximate. You see the height also. Got it, right? Ignore this piece of, this is a bridge between the next pattern. So you see what happened. The same pattern, if I go back in time, the same pattern, very similar pattern. I'm out, when I say same, is almost, is this shape is different. The left hand shoulder, then the head, and the right hand shoulder, and this is the neckline, right? This is the neckline and a band, I would say not just line up, but a band. And this is the upper bound, very clear, right? So when we were tracking, we wanted price to break above this one, because then it would invalidate. If I fast forward, we are time traveling and then fast forwarding, this is a potential risk. And when this bounced, you see where it reacted. So when this bounced, many people thought, I mean, technically speaking, this, when it was here, we are somewhere here, currently. If you relate the current price with this situation, we are somewhere here. So this is our 42k if you want to compare, and you can say that we have left the 42k, like here we had left 29k, so we are somewhere here, okay. And this level is equal to 52k, 53k level, or sorry, 58k level, my bad. That range, sorry, I'll take my, not 58k, 52 53k range, okay, 52k 53k range, because if it breaks above this, then it will go above the shoulder, right, this particular point of rejections. And if I fast forward, it reacted, look at that, it reacted but not deep enough, right? So if you focus on the low end, it was still higher than this, it didn't go all the way. So when you see this kind of a behavior, it was obvious that it is going to react, because this is the escape point, right? This is where it got rejected, so it's going to react. The probability was very high for it to get rejected here. But then you see how bad the rejection was, how deep, in terms of, when I say how bad means how deep, and this is definitely not deep enough, you can see that. So this is not deep enough, in fact it is a retest of this high, technically speaking. Then you fast forward and then it breaks above, you see, then it breaks above, and this is where you forget about downside move. Here you can be bearish, because there is no doubt why you should not be, you can be bearish. Everything was signaling bearish, but of course seeing is believing, right, as I say. But probability of going down was very high, no doubt about it, right? But when you see a bounce like this, you have to change your mindset and say, hey, there's something different happening, let me accept this fact. And then you track, like what I tracked, right, how I tracked, and then it breaks above, that's a good news, right? And this is like going up, this is like 58k level, then it retraces and then comes down again below this one. So this is a scary part in my opinion, because it broke the level which was supposed to be held up, and it broke, but not a big margin. If you look at, this was not a big margin, and this low was not below this one. If this low would have been like below this low, then we had real trouble, right? So this was not the case. If I fast forward and then bounce and then breaks above even this one, right, not just this but this one as well, so then you celebrate, of course. So I recap for a specific reason, because let's go back to weekly now. I hope this will really help you understand how pattern develops and how we can track different patterns. Now you look at this one, okay. Now the right hand side that you saw, the recovery part, is actually left hand side of this overall pattern. What is the overall pattern? The pattern which started here and which is right now at here. So you put this as a left hand shoulder. Now you forget this pattern, this is done, right? This is bridging, but you got it, you understood how to interpret this one, right? Now when it retest went up, it and I mentioned that when it drop here, it is likely to make a head, and it ended up creating head, not for long time, very brief moment in time, but it did create. And now it is bouncing for last 3 weeks, as you see. So that's why I had to draw this one. It doesn't mean I'm bearish and all, right? And I would simply draw another arrow indicating on the upside, right? So point is, in that case, this 53k range tells me that it must be broken above approximately here, because sometimes it could be little higher, little lower, but as I said, it's not about exact dollar number here. It is about the shape of this pattern, right? So that this is very important point to be understood. So that's why this is everything is good from this pattern point of view. It requires little more push, right? So it doesn't mean that you keep thinking about any downside move. It simply means that it requires confirmation, right? Further confirmation. So this is positive but not confirmed. I will leave it at that, right? So everything is positive but not confirmed, right? Not fully confirmed. So I think so that's the explanation for this pattern, and this pattern is important pattern, right? So this pattern will be invalidated if it follows the green arrow. When it climbs up, this whole entire pattern, it won't form the head and shoulder. See, head and shoulder hasn't formed, it is in process of forming, right? So unless and until this goes down to this level, you cannot say this is head and shoulder. You can say left shoulder is formed, head is formed, right shoulder is forming, but you cannot say this is head and shoulder pattern, because it's not complete. It completes when if it comes down to the red line again, this line again, then it completes, and then we determine the next level, because this is a neckline bend. As I said, it's not a clear line but a band again. Like here it was a band, not a clear one level. It was like this level, little lower, and this is little higher. It is a band. Similarly, this is also a band. Okay, so this particular candle could be like this candle. Okay, so and then it could touch this one and go down like this. So this could also touch this and go down like this. We'll have to see that happening, but I would like to highlight that. So it's something we have to track it, okay, and not to forget that everything right now looking good, but we really need price to be in this region. So I'm trying to explain why I would like price to be near 58k level and why it must be broken above 58k level from candle analysis point of view, from this pattern point of view, and then other method, my own method, which is the prime method, the main method, also tells me that we must need 58k. Okay, so these are different approaches. They are saying the same thing, so there is no confusion, only they are giving different perspectives. Okay, like you see yourself in the mirror from the side or from the front or whatever. They are it's about you, but different perspectives. So here there is no ambiguity in terms of what is required here, where it stands, and now situation is much better than last week, that's for sure. So I would one more thing I'll quickly have a look, and this is monthly chart. Okay, this is monthly chart, and the monthly is progressing, as you could see, but it's still red, right? So when it is red, and 58k will turn this into green. So even from monthly point of view, 58k will change this to green. Of course, this is not going to happen in this, because it's unlikely to pump to 58k this week. Only one day is left, but the come next week, if it goes up, as soon as it breaks above this particular opening, it is going to be green, and that is around 58k. So that's another fourth way, I would say, it's indicating even the monthly is saying why 58k is so critical, right? So there are different ways. So this is macro level, you can understand. This is not our 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. We are talking about whole entire trend here. We're talking about whole entire trend, right? So you need different perspective to understand this chart, monthly time frame chart. It is not about a short term at all. This is about trend level discussion we are having at this moment. Okay, so so far so good, but the monthly is still red, as you see. And come next month, right, month is ending, come next month, next year, next week, everything. So this is now it is very clear that this is a very decisive whether it will go for 100k, 200k. I mean, upside there's a lot of room, because this consolidation will give a good really like a huge push on the upside. Okay, if this breaks out, I have no doubt that it would touch 200k, 300k kind of a range. I have no doubt about it because of this consolidation, right? And if it breaks below, then there are lower levels we shall talk about when it happens. Right now we don't have to. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. I think I can add more thing, but unless you want to know more, I can. So maybe I'll show you the spectrum, a new feature which recently introduced. I renamed Trident to Spectrum. I'll show you. Uh, I'll show you it is how it looks like at this moment, and I'll spend a little time explaining this. So there are four trend line as moving averages. Okay, these are custom averages, specifically tuned, and the interpretation is very much intuitive. So I think going forward I'm going to use this one as well as part of my weekly. Okay, to see. So this is another tool I would like to use it, and we'll see how it does, right? Because anything that is new requires more testing, and we have to see. If it doesn't work, we'll discard. If it works, then we'll promote, right? So we need to see for a month or so how it performs. Now this is so clear, the chart wise. If I start from here, now there are two things you will observe. One is the crossover, and then the crossing of the um, trend. I'm not calling short term, medium term, and long term simple, because I'll tell you the reason why. Because the definition of these terms are not so well defined in terms of time. Because short term for someone could be 2 days, sometimes for someone it is 1 week, or medium term could be different for different. So I don't want to get into that. I chose the color, the blue color and the red color, like a spectrum in the white light we see, right, like in the prism, the band. So that's why I named this spectrum. Now Trident I kept because there were three lines, but then I added fourth one, so I thought maybe I should change it. And the color, it is from the, you know, blue to red, like our rainbow. So that's why I chose spectrum. Rainbow was another name, but I chose spectrum, little cool name. So anyway, so point is, from blue to red, kind of a shift indicates that. And so if you look at this one, the worst case, right, the large like March has touched this one. So this is my baseline, then it consolidated on the orange, right, OT I call. So this is red RT. So I'm going to call with its abbreviation, red trend, and then orange trend, and the yellow trend, and the blue trend. So right, OT, RT, YT, BT, that kind of. So yeah, okay, so it bounced, and then the blue, the price, this was the real moment where it started uptrend. I mean, of course it started much earlier, of course, but point is, this was a recovery, this is consolidation, and this is a breakout. Okay, so then from that point of view, this was a real level. September onwards it really started moving up, near vertical move. And the blue trend was the guide all the times, and then it started showing weakness and touched the blue one, and came down, right? And when it came down, it touched the YT, and the YT also the support over here and support throughout this phase. If you look at it, right, very critical phase this was, because this was a ugly drop and then a bounce, and this phase was so critical that it was so important for this particular recovery to continue. And it recovered and it stayed above the YT, and then so on. So now when this was the first major correction, right, and then consolidation, it happened above the same YT. So the YT played very important role over here in month of June, in month of September last year, and also July, June to August, I would say, June to July, yeah, this phase. So I would say May to July, my bad, May to July, this price remain about this one. And then it went up, it went and broke about the blue, which was a positive sign. It retested and then remained above the blue, and again it broke the blue, right, BT, and then landed again on the YT, you see. So the YT is so important in my opinion. And of course, the now what it tells me that it has to, of course, it has to break about this level. So from this point of view, it requires around 59k, right, 59k, which is not so far from 58k, but this is different indicator, right? So once it breaks above the blue again, then we can expect it to continue something what we saw here. Another thing is when you track this one, you also measure that whether this moving averages are coming closer or not. Okay, very important. So when the uptrend starts, you see how this BT was moving away from the YT, you see, and then it started coming closer and closer. So when the gap was widening, you see the gap between these two move was widening, okay, and then the gap was narrowing, right here. This is the level, and then more expanding, and now it is more like a static, I mean constant. So the point is, right now you can say this is in balance, because it is not the dropping, this one on a weekly time frame, this is not dropping, as you could see, correct. The blue is still moving away. So from here again there is a gap is widening. Here it's at least this gap is still a bigger gap than this one, correct. So this gap is still wider, so that's positive. So what happened is, when it goes up, the blue will tend to move away from the yellow, right, and that's positive, that's what we want to see. And what you see here is between similar thing between orange and the yellow, that they are moving away, and still the distance between the orange and yellow is the maximum. So the trend level, there is no major down. But if the price, like say hypothetically, price let's say breaks down and breaks the yellow, which is the very important one, as you could imagine, because the kind of support it provided, so important. If it breaks below this one over time, over weeks, what will happen, right, this blue will again start coming down and try to cross over, correct. It tried here, but because of this bounce it again pushed back, right. But if this is broken below, the blue will come closer, and then not just blue, but eventually the yellow will also come close to the orange OT, right, and later on even the OT will come close to the RT, and so on. We'll see, but that's how it happens. And during this time, as you could see, this trend, this orange, the red one is so different one. Orange is for this bull run mainly, and the red one is actually for 11 years, or I would not say 11 years at this moment, but it is even higher. It is beyond this particular trend. Okay, I'll go back in past and show you more data from, and I'm so excited about this one. I mean, it has to prove itself, but so far the way the kind of information this particular indicator is giving, I find it very useful in coming days, and we are going to use it. Now if you look at the past, so the here you saw the importance of the yellow, right? You saw the importance of the yellow. Now you will see the importance of the orange, which is also important because it closed here, and also that was the same. The orange was the support for the December 2018. Look at this. Look at the look. This is not just coincidence. This is mathematically so much in line, and that's why I'm very excited about this feature. Okay, so this was perfect touch, not just first one but also the second one, and the closing was also there. So the orange is so important. So bearish scenario point of view, if this breaks down on a weekly time frame, the next level is around 920k, 1920k, which is actually in line with my macro, not macro, major support level on a Bitstamp, which I had, with not a Bitstamp but on a Binance, which I had given earlier, not in here, sorry, my bad. Let me not mix up because it's a different layout. This is a different layout. So anyway, so that's so this is indicating 20k level. Okay, so that's important level. Even that is coincided with the support that I had shared earlier, right? So this is very important. If you look back, I don't think we should go back too much in past, because then it will fade away. But then orange is also a support here, right? Like that for this one, not just this particular. Let me show you here. I think I should have BLX. I need BLX for a longer term. You see this one, this is year 2015. The orange, this was the touch. It closed above this one, and here also it closed above the orange, correct? So there were two. So this is a retest. This is a mega trend we are talking about. This is a retest. You see this one and this one, which is very much the same line provided the support. I wish I had this indicator earlier. Look at this one, it retested this one. This is not a coincidence, right? And the red one was the extreme, right? So this is weekly. What do you think? You don't have to conclude, but what do you think so far? Do you think that this looking good? Indicator. So in the previous one, the blue, when the broken, it could not break above the blue throughout. Here also it could not break above the blue throughout, except this one. But then there are immediate downside signal. So very much before the big one. Here only it gave the down signal, which is very good in my opinion. So, and then so on. Here also right on the top, and this is also right on the top. So the weekly BTC on this indicator is looking so much promising. The spectrum, we'll see. As I said, when I came out with this one, I found um, it hitting so many key levels with these four different lines. Gave me kind of confidence for me to at least release for as a test phase, and of course we'll be using as um, on our weekly call like this. And now I explain, we won't spend this much time, but watch, observe where it stands, right? Now the same is on a daily. And there are two I have tuned this for two different levels. Okay, so this is daily, and now in daily it's little different here. You have to see differently. The blue gave the down signal at this one 63 plus, and then the orange gave over here, and then sorry yellow, and then the orange broke below this one and landed on the red one. Okay, landed on the red one. It tried to break above the orange but not quite succeeded. Came down but not in, but remained above the red, so didn't break the red. Okay, and then it tried to break above the orange but rejected, but not so deep enough as you could see. One thing you would notice, there's a crossover on daily, which is not which happened over here once, which happened once, and then since then this is second time it happens. It crossed the orange here, so it is coming close but not crossed. We'll have to, so if it goes down, then this blue will cross below the orange, right? Here this was very critical time, as you could imagine, where the yellow started crossing over here, because BTC was not supposed to go down from here. So this was a sign that that's not second crossover. So this was the first crossover, and then the orange cross, so the yellow crossing the orange, because the yellow is second fast, the blue is the fastest, right? Speed point of view. The second crossover is this one, yellow crossing below the orange. And why? Because this is not a good time for BTC to go down, so it makes sense that it crossed, right? However, the orange did not cross the red. If you look at it, orange never crossed the red, so it landed on red here, again, right? Again. And similarly, you see the orange and red, if you look at it, they expanded. It shows the uptrend, and then you see the contraction, right? They are narrowing down. You see they narrowed down, and right now they are more or less parallel. The orange and the red are more or less parallel. What does it mean is, if the price goes down, then the orange and red will come closer, even more closer, which hasn't happened since it started a big trend. This was the big change, right? As I said on a weekly, that this is a recovery, this is consolidation, and this is a kind of a breakout, right? And because it had to break about this whole entire cluster, so this is the pivotal moment, correct? September October month was a pivotal moment last year. So that's where you see the crossover, multiple crossover, right? And the whole entire crossover, you can see the cluster, how the blue crossed the yellow crossed the orange, and then the orange crossed the red, right? Over time, from June to the October month, that crossover happened. And then the blue, which is the fastest, took off first, and then the orange. You see how the blue widened as the price move up, and then the yellow also widened between orange and red, right? And then orange, how widened there, because this is macro at one day, right? And then they narrowed down and so on, right? So what is the way I'm interpreting this is, now the blue has crossed the yellow, which is not good, but not that bad, because the yellow hasn't crossed yet, right? So yellow, if yellow crosses the orange, that's a bad sign, like this one, because this was really bad sign. This is a miracle that it survived, because statistically this is very weak position in my point of view, but it worked out well, right? And it was above the red. Multiple things to look at. So what we don't want to see, right, is the yellow crossing the orange, and same time we don't want to see the price breaking below the red, the closing part, okay, not the touching part, the closing. It must not close below red. But so on the daily time frame point of view, that will be a bad news in that case, correct? So that's the interpretation of this particular indicator spectrum. Okay. Right, so we'll use this during our weekly, going ahead and see how this particular indicator performs, and then will rely more. For now you can say, haha, this is a new boy or a new girl in the town. Okay, so you don't have to trust this one, okay? So I'm not expecting you to trust this, because there's no reason for you to trust. It's something new, why should you trust, right? But I would say just take interest and see what it tries to do. Is it giving you the clear direction or not? So my only request is, you see what it does, don't ignore it, okay? um, I mean, my TA remains the prime, but I would like to use this as a supplementary, and see what it does. So if it works out well, then it's an additional tool for us. Okay, so I think I covered Bitcoin in detail, and definitely we'll end this recording here and start a new one, because this is pretty lengthy one. And thanks for staying with me so long. So but I think I wanted to cover this indicator part as well, and Bitcoin in detail, right? I'll open for any question you might have. So I'll stop the recording here.